So good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to today's SEO Masterclass. In today's session, we'll be hearing from Justin, Jack, and Claire, who will be taking us through which online casinos are performing best on Google. We'll also be running a Q&A at the end of the session, so if there's anything you wish to ask us, then please use the questions box in the panel on the right-hand side of your screen. So with that being said then, I shall now hand you over to Justin to take you through the first section.
Hey there, thank you very much, Simon. It's good to have everyone here today. Thank you very much for coming. Some lovely brands have signed up to attend, so it's fantastic. We're going to be able to have a conversation about how you're performing on Google. I should introduce myself. My name is Justin DeVille. I'm Managing Director here at Receptional. Hopefully, you can see my slides. I want to tell you three things about myself. Can you see those, Simon? May I come through? Anyway, I'll tell you the three things. We'll wait for them to hear. So the first thing is that I was born and brought up in Manchester, proud Mancunian, followed the team in red rather than the team in blue, and then after leaving Manchester, I came to London and lived in London, and for a decade or more worked as an actor, professional actor. Both on stage, but also on film, television, radio, and likes. And that was a thoroughly enjoyable experience. I enjoyed it completely. And but towards the end of my time, I started to get a little bit jaded with that kind of work, and I started to get more interested in digital and how the world was changing, and particularly digital marketing. And then followed that path. Hence why I'm sitting here today talking to you about all things Google and how all your different brands are performing in Google's search results. I think one of the things that I particularly enjoy about the markets that we work in is really working with challenger brands. So again, it's that idea of the status quo changing, of the world changing, and how different brands can make the most out of that. And there's no doubt at all that the market that we work in today is one of the most competitive search markets. And the fact is that of all the markets that we work in, there was a couple where we specialised, and gaming is really the one that is the most competitive by some distance. And not only that, but at the moment, obviously, regulation is changing, more likely to make our lives difficult as marketers, and of course, the pace of change, the thing that I talked about enjoying, is still happening, and perhaps faster than ever over the last 12 months or so. And that's all really exciting. But I think what it also means is that our customers and the way that they're behaving is also changing quite quickly. And I think now more than ever, we really need to understand our customers, how they're behaving online, what their likes and preferences are. I think that's key. And so that's why at Receptional, at the back end of last year, we surveyed 400 potential punters to ask them about their behavior online, and in particular, how they choose the operator that they want to either bet or play with. And that was the key to our questioning. And we found that the results surprising. And I think part of that is because we're always thinking as marketers and not as the audience. And as marketers, we think about the offer a lot. What is it is going to close the deal? What is it going to bring people through and turn them into new customers? And that might be kind of, a free money bet or free spins or match deposit, all those kind of things. What's the offer that's going to work? Whereas actually, what the survey told us is that's important, yes, but it is not the key factor that influences the decision about which operator or which game player to work with. And so I thought I'd just talk through the top three influencing factors, because I think that will inform the way that we think about the research that we are going to cover later on in the webinar. So in third spot is word of mouth and recommendation, which kind of makes sense, and that means that we as marketers need to be appearing on on websites where people are researching. The second is online customer service, which I think was perhaps slightly surprising, but actually is a parallel with all the industries that we would look at. So we shouldn't be too surprised by that. And actually it lends into that third point, which is recommendation. If you've had a good experience online, then you're more likely to recommend the brand. So, absolutely important. And then the most important factor, the fact that most people mentioned, was the memorability of your brand. So can people just remember your brand, which makes complete sense because it's such a competitive space that you would want, you want your brand to stand out. You want your brand to be memorable. And in that case, in our case, that means making sure your brand is appearing both on desktop and on mobile and on social, and crucially for us today, that you're appearing in Google's search results when people are searching for relevant keywords. And that's not other people's brands. That's when people are just searching in the market, looking for non-brand keywords. So I think that's the job of SEO, is for us to be bringing in new customers. And so those non-brand keywords are important. There was a second question that we asked, which I think is worth talking about, which was how much time do punters spend researching before they place a bet or they start playing a game? And the short answer is it's about 30 minutes. Some people at Receptional felt that was not very much time, and others felt that was quite a lot. And we talked about that, but actually, I think the important thing is that that's the scale of the opportunity. That's how the market is. We have half an hour to get our brand while someone in front of our audience while they're researching, and that's a key moment for all of us as marketers. We have that half an hour to make our brand memorable and to be present. Which leads me to my final slide, which is about that old line that 90% of success is showing up. And so well done for all of you today for being here. That's a successful morning. But joking aside, I think what that means is that for the rest of the webinar, we're going to be looking at exactly that. We're going to be looking at who's showing up in Google's search results when it matters for those non-brand keywords. And so now I'm going to hand over to Jack Waite. Jack has for the last few months been pouring through thousands of Google search results, compiling enormous spreadsheets of Excel data and doing a vast amount of analysis. He has done a brilliant job, and I'm now going to hand over to him to present those results. Jack,
thanks.
Over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. And hi, everyone. I'm Jack, and I'm an outreach executive here at Receptional. A little bit about me to get us started. Like Justin, I support a team in red, but unfortunately for me at the minute, that team is Arsenal, so we'll skip past that very quickly. My background is in marketing and events. I previously spent 3 years with DHL working on their physical and digital shows, but from an operational perspective, which means I've always been in the background, keeping everything working. So to be let out in front of everyone today is both exciting and nerve-wracking at the same time. I've been with the company now for around 5 months, and in that short time, I've learned quite a lot about link building and SEO. But by pulling all this data together, I've learned quite a lot about the gaming sector in general. So I think you'll be surprised with some of the results that I've found. I'm just going to pull my screen up here. Hopefully everyone can see that. Cool. Perfect. So what that's not good. So what we've done is benchmarked 150 brands across the gaming sector, and this is to find out who we believe is getting the most traffic from non-branded keywords that are relevant to their specific niches. But what we also want to know is, who's gaining traffic in the right areas and who's diversifying in their niche to obtain as much traffic as possible. So all this begs the question of, why would you want to listen to all of this data that we've found? And there's an estimated 48 million searches for the keywords that we've identified. And if you look at the average cost per click between the markets, then you would have to spend around £150 million a year just to buy the amount of traffic available to you as a gaming operator. So really, you'd be crazy not to look into organic search in a bit more detail and how it can help your brand. So what we're going to be doing today is look into 4 of the biggest sectors within online gaming. And we've done this because at Receptional, we're lucky to have worked within this sector for various gaming clients, and it's a market we know well. I'm going to be referencing this funnel throughout the presentation, so I just want to give you an idea of what it means. Nowadays, we're all publishers. We're all publishing content to get people to come to our website. So when we're looking at SEO, we're looking at lots of different parts of this customer search funnel. At the top of the funnel, there's a very broad amount of searches, but targeting these keywords is more for brand awareness and trust, as there's not many people here ready to commit to spending their money. In the middle of the funnel is where a customer starts to get more serious about spending their money, and they're starting to look for the kinds of operators and the details of playing some of these games online. And then when you look at the bottom of the customer search funnel, this is really where you want to be. This is the area where customers are ready to spend their money, or ready to learn more in-depth detail about the games. They've done the research, they've found ways that they can play online, and now they're ready to go for it. So this is where the most opportunity is for operators. So let's apply this to the casino niche. Firstly, we're going to try and get a bit interactive. So let's see if this works. We're going to get a poll going. There we go. So hopefully this comes up on your screen now. Good. So when you look at this first slide, which operators do you think get the most traffic from all of the non-branded casino keywords? It's popped up on the screen for you now. I can see that people are starting to click through, which is good. And what we'll do is we'll keep these results to the side, and I'll share these so that we can see who kind of thought the right operators were winning when we come to the right slide. Give you a couple more seconds just to go through. Perfect. Right, we'll close that for now. And as I say, I'll share that in a minute. So hopefully my slides are back up now and we can go back through. So let's look at the customer search funnel for casino in the three different areas. So at the top, what we've done is looked at casino related search terms. In the middle, we've looked at online casino search terms, and then at the bottom is no deposit casino. So that's where the customer intent is. So at the top of the funnel, we can see that Wikipedia are taking a lot of the traffic, and there's no getting away from a giant like this in some search terms. But the surprises for me come in the shape of a comparison site. It just proves that at the top of the funnel, people are not all looking to play casino-related games. They're looking for information. And as an operator, Grosvenor Casinos have seen that ranking for these broad search terms is positive for them, and it helps them to build a brand that people know, like, and trust. It comes back to the memorability that Justin spoke about in his opening slides. The middle of the funnel is more of what you would expect. People who are ready to play online casino games will find operators here. But again, you see Grosvenor Casinos, they've clearly got a strategy to pop up along a customer's journey. And when we look at the results, I won't give any spoilers, but you'll probably see that. At the bottom of the funnel are customers who are genuinely interested in playing casino games, and they're ready to play with operators who have the best deposit bonuses. So what's interesting for me is that 777 and 21.co.uk have obviously done their research, and they take a massive proportion of the traffic in this area. What they've managed to do is kind of step over the bigger players in this niche and take traffic from right underneath them by looking at more of customer intent than the broader search terms. And what that correlates to when you look at the overall winners in the casino niche is that 777 come out on top. They've put this strategy to good use and actually get more traffic than Grosvenor Casinos and some of the other bigger players. By focusing on the bottom end of the funnel, they're gaining traffic for nearly every relevant keyword within the no deposit bonus, and ultimately getting their name up there in a crowded market. Grosvenor Casinos have showed up along the customer journey, and therefore quite rightly have come across in that second table. So this is just showing that diversifying and not just ranking for online casino has really helped them get more traffic than other competitors. So if we share these results now, I can see on my screen that a big proportion of people thought that Grosvenor Casinos, not one person that participated, thought that 777 were going to be part of the top three. So it's quite interesting to see, just by having a good SEO tactic, you can outrank some of the bigger names. let's take that off there. So take all of that in, and now we'll look at slots in the same way. I won't do a poll this time, but I'll ask the question of who you think is going to have the biggest market share across all of the non-branded relevant keywords in the slots niche. Write it down and we'll see if you're right after looking at the funnel. So again, we'll take some time to look through this because there's a lot of data, but at the top of the funnel, I came across a company I personally had never heard of before. I've never seen them advertised on TV like the other big brands, or even seen them across social platforms. But you'll see that across the board, Slots Temple features in our top 3. What they've done is exactly what we're trying to get across in this whole webinar. They're showing up across the whole of the customer journey. And because of this, you can see that they're going to be in the, if you're searching for a slots related keyword and you're just getting started, they're going to be there. If you're then looking for an operator, they're actually there as well. And then even in the smaller kind of free online slots, when there's proper customer intent, they're turning up. And you won't be surprised to see the likes of Grosvenor Casinos and Betway in there as well. When you take this through to the top 10, it's no surprise that you can see Slots Temple are top by a good margin as well. They've got a lower domain authority than most of the other sites that they're competing against. And this just proves that they've got a really good SEO strategy going. They're not the biggest company, but they're outranking the big brands because of the work they're doing. And again, you won't be surprised to see that Grosvenor Casinos show up in our top 3. And maybe they'll be a contender for our top 10 at the very end of the presentation. So yeah, a lot of data to take in for the slots niche there. Well done if you got the winner right for slots. Give yourself a point or a pat on the back, whatever works best. If you don't get it right, you've got a chance to redeem yourself here. So let's move on and take another few seconds to think about who you believe is going to be the bingo market winner. Write it down and see if you can come to the top. So at the top of the funnel, you have freebingocards.com, and we'll talk about them more on our next slide. They find themselves giving a lot of traffic for the SEO work that they've done. I would expect to see Mecca Bingo up there, and Wikipedia is another entry that you can't get past them sometimes. In the middle of the funnel, you have the usual operators who are targeting the right area, so people who are actively wanting to play bingo online. And I could see from the data that operators know to target this set of keywords because it's just dominated by operators only. But at the bottom of the funnel, where people are ready to play bingo and they're looking for deals and bonuses, you can see that my free bingo cards are again showing up and being part of the customer journey. Even though they're not an operator, they understand the importance of having good SEO strategies and ranking for important keywords within their niche. Not all of the traffic that they get is going to be relevant for what they can offer, but it's people through the door, and it's people understanding their brand, and once they're there, they might think that they can gather some of the data or get some bits from it. So taking that through to the top 10, after seeing the last results, it's no surprise that freebingo.cards.com are at the top. But I'd like to know if any of you thought that they would be top before I showed you the slides, because I certainly didn't pull in the data together. When we looked at them more closely, they give away free bingo cards and they upsell for more detailed bingo cards as well. But yet their SEO must be fantastic because they come top of this category. It goes without saying, obviously, like I said before, that it won't all be relevant traffic, but there's a massive bingo playing audience that they're gathering that you could tap into as operators by creating useful content like they have. Seeing Mecca Bingo in the top 3 is again something that I would expect to see and is of no surprise. They show up across the customer experience like many other brands do in their respective fields, but they do it so well that they obviously come second. But when you look at third, it brings up a PR website, and a very big PR website, with a very high domain authority. And from our research, it looks like bingo specific content is being pushed through them, and they're ranking higher than the operators who are trying to get their content out to market. And this is good on one hand to get yourself out to a wider audience, but surely you're much better off creating the content for yourself and then having the traffic directed to your own site. If you're using a PR website to advertise, then great, but you need that traffic coming back to your site also. And it looks like PR Newswire are just gathering loads of traffic for themselves and coming third on our list. Right then, the last topic. Well done if you got the last winner right. So what we'll do now is go forward and look at the poker niche and see who takes the pot. I apologise for that terrible pun. So what's interesting is that at the top of the funnel, there's 3 different types of site, and none of them being an operator. There's one informational, which is Wikipedia, one blog or affiliate by the looks of it, which is Card Player, and arguably the biggest poker card manufacturer. So my question to myself when I was pulling all of this data together was, why don't poker operators rank at the top here? And to answer that, you have to look at a bit further down the funnel. In the middle of the funnel, online poker related keywords are dominated by operators, which shows that operators are focusing on the intent of the customer who is looking for online operators. But what the top of the funnel shows and the bottom of the funnel shows is that there's missed opportunities for operators when it comes to customer research and customer intent. There are huge amounts of customers who are not ready yet to play poker online and are researching into how to play the game. And as an operator, this data shows that you would benefit from showing up in every part of the customer journey so that they know, like, and trust your brand and then come to play poker with you, rather than just specifying in the online poker keywords. And then when you look at all the keywords combined, what I find interesting here is that, again, none of the top poker operators are in the top 3. The fact that 2 informational sites and a card manufacturer rank higher than the operators show that there are huge non-branded areas that you should be targeting to obtain that traffic, and that you need to look at the wider picture than just the people who are ready to play poker online. It shows that operators are not part of the customer journey from finding the information and then looking for a site to play poker on. Cardplayer.com is a content site drawing gamblers to them. If I was an operator, I would want to be producing that informational content that they are, and then having those people coming to my site, reading that information, and then playing poker with us. But again, it comes back to people being or viewing sites that they know, like, and trust. So I found this niche quite interesting. So we've looked at all the data for the markets individually, but what did this mean when you combine all of the data together? So this is the final list of overall winners. Take a look for a second and see if you think that, or you would have thought that any of these companies would have come top. However, I don't think you can look at the top half of the table and take it as it is. Combined, the set of non-branded poker keywords we found amounted to just shy of 2 million searches per month. So the amount of traffic available to poker-related companies is huge compared to the slots niche, for example, which had just under 700,000 combined searches. So yes, each of the top 10 are doing great SEO and successfully targeting keywords with high traffic volumes, but cardplayer.com, for example, are just dominating the poker niche, and for that reason take a high market share of all of the keywords that we've looked at. What we are really interested in is the end by the looks of it. What we're really interested in is the sites in green on our table. These sites have a lower domain authority than the rest of the table, but still manage to gain a good amount of traffic from the 4 million searches a month that we have outlined. When you compare them to Betway, for example, who are still doing very well and feature on our list, Betway's domain authority is 82. So if Betway were replicating the content strategies of the highlighted companies, they would get a bigger piece of the pie due to their authority, you would think. Google would see them as a more trustworthy source because of the authority that they've built. So just an interesting takeaway from there. So after pulling together all of this data, the winners in my eyes and our eyes are slotstemple.com, pinkcasino.co.uk, and 21.co.uk, with obviously a special mention to Grosvenor Casinos, who feature across the board on lots of the different topics and show great SEO strategy. But I was kind of expecting them to feature on this list, whereas the sites in green, I just wasn't expecting to see them at all. So hopefully, after seeing all of that, you're probably sat there thinking, I want a bigger piece of this pie. Well, luckily, I'm now handing over to Claire, who is going to look at link building and how this can help you climb up the rankings. So if I just pass this over.
Would help if I unmuted myself. So thank you, Jack. Hi, everyone. I'm Claire. I'm the head of outreach here at Receptional. I joined the business just over 2 years ago as an outreach executive on our sports and gaming team. Prior to working at Receptional, I finished my degree in marketing and I love dogs, so I decided to set up a dog walking business. However, I soon realised that I prefer working inside with people instead of animals. So that's when I started my career in marketing. At Receptional, I've been predominantly working in the gaming industry. I've learned a lot about link building and outreach in this sector, having built thousands of links myself. So now that Jack's run you through the overall winners in the gaming market, I'm going to take you through the tricks of the trade to improve your SEO and compete against these top players. And hopefully you can now see my screen. Yep, cool. So when it comes to SEO, there are 3 main areas to focus on in order to be successful: search optimization, links from high authority domains, and content quality and depth. When we first start working with an SEO client, the first thing we do is carry out an SEO audit, particularly if they're ranking really low in the search results, as it's usually down to the optimization of the website. Once we've improved their site, we see a big jump in the rankings, which places them well into the top 30, where the most competitive brands will be sitting. For today, I'm going to assume that your on-page optimization and content has been sorted by this guy. He looks like he's an expert, so we won't go into too much detail with what you should be doing. However, we'll have a look at some quick fixes that you can make to help you stand out in the search results. One thing we always consider when starting to work with a client is their meta title and description. As you can see from the example here, Coral is missing a trick with their very basic meta title and description. If you type in slots into Google, most of the operators in the search results have a call to action and a welcome offer. As it's such a competitive niche, operators are fighting to stand out, and Coral isn't helping themselves to stand out by not including these. Now, take a look at these 2 listings. Which one do you think you'd click on if you were searching for slots? An example of good practice that we always look at is Admiral Casino. They have a clear call to action, a welcome bonus, icons to make them stand out, and an FAQ section. So they're taking up a lot of space on the page and drawing the user's eye. So looking at your meta title and description is often a really quick fix that can make a massive difference to your rankings and click-through rate. So I'd recommend having a look at these if you haven't done so recently. But as I said, we're not going to focus too much on the on-page stuff today. If we assume that all of your on-page stuff is sorted, the thing that's going to get you to the first position on Google is links. And if we have high quality content, we'll be attracting top tier links. So here at Receptional, we categorize links in 4 ways based on their domain rating. Firstly, lower tier links. It's worth noting these as they may be providing some value to your site, but we don't tend to build any links below DR 20. Standard tier links are ones of good value that will be making an impact to your SEO rankings. Premium tier links are of high quality, but they are harder to get. And super tier links are a lot rarer and will require a sophisticated PR-led approach. To provide some context to this, the domain rating is based on the quality of the links that are going to a website. So for example, the BBC will be a super tier domain due to the amount of links that they'll have going to their website every day, as we'd expect. Whereas if I was to start a blog today, firstly, it probably wouldn't be very good, but it would be a DR 0 because I'd have no links and no authority. So in order to evaluate the types of links you need to build to be ranking #1, it's important to look at what your competitors are doing. So if we take the keyword slots and look at the operator ranking in the first position, which is Betway, we can see that to rank ahead of them, you'd need to build around 145 standard links, 45 premium links, and 4 super links to your relevant slots page. Or we often find that if you build more super and premium tier links, you don't need to build as many links, as many standard links, as the quality outweighs the quantity. So let's look a little deeper on how we get them higher tier links. As I said, they're harder to get, so we have to take a different approach to our outreach and content than we would with the standard links. At Receptional, for example, we have a model called dynamic deadlines for specific events such as sporting events like Cheltenham and the Grand National and national days in the calendar. With dynamic deadlines, we plan well in advance for a key event, and then we write, sub-edit and place the content all on the same day of the event, in a similar way to how a newspaper or online website would operate. This gives us more leverage with our outreach as we're adding value to the journalist or site owner, as the content is timely and relevant at the time of publication, and it's more likely to be picked up by the top tier websites. Another way we tend to gain the higher tier links is to offer more than just editorial, like infographics and quizzes. For example, last year we ran a campaign around Friday the 13th for Cheltenham, as the Gold Cup day was taking place on Friday the 13th, and it turned out to be unlucky for the favourites. We used this day as a dynamic deadline and had the content placed on Friday the 13th as it was more timely and relevant that day. But we also turned the content into an infographic, which gave us more pickup on higher quality sites, as we were offering more creative content in our outreach, which was more interesting to the reader. So higher tier sites also have a bigger, more relevant audience. So not only will these links be will be helping with your search visibility, it will also increase your brand awareness, which goes back to what Justin was saying earlier on about being memorable. We want to be present in the market as a whole, and for our customers, for our potential customers to remember us. But don't just take my word for it. Let's look at an example. When we first began working with Bigo, they were ranking on the 8th page of Google for the keyword slots. By following the 3 pillars of SEO I've outlined today, search optimization, content quality, and links from high authority domains, we managed to get them ranking in the first position within 9 months. Firstly, we carried out an SEO audit for them, where we looked at their on-page content and optimization of their site. Once we've made the necessary improvements, we saw their rankings shoot up to 11th position within the first month. We then built links on high authority websites, and although there was some fluctuation at first, which is usual when we've taken such a big leap up in the rankings, we got them to first position after 9 months, which really proves that links will be the final push up to the top spot on Google once your on-page optimization is complete, particularly when you're working in such a competitive niche as the gaming industry. So that's all from me. Thank you very much for listening today. I'll now pass you back to Simon to see if you have any questions for us.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Claire, and also thank you to Justin and Jack. I think you covered off some interesting topics there, and I hope that everybody watching has found the session useful. So just before we head over to the questions then, just a quick note to say we will be sharing a copy of the slides, as well as a very short survey about today's masterclass. We are always keen to hear your feedback on these sessions, as well as to hear what topics would be useful for us to cover for you in the future. So yeah, we'd be very grateful if you could spend 30 seconds to fill that out when it comes your way. Finally, we will be sharing a copy of the ebook as well, which today's masterclass has been based around. This will be available for you and everybody who attended in the next few weeks. So with that being said then, let's head over to the questions. So the first question I have is, will you be able to share the data from your findings as well as any further research that you have done? So I'll pick this one up, guys. So yes, basically we will be sharing all of this data that you've seen today in the ebook that we'll be sharing with you soon, and it will go into more depth as well. So there'll be further information in that ebook itself. So the second question then, I have one here for you, Jack. If you were a new brand starting out, which area would you invest in, given your understanding of the opportunity within the market?
After doing the data, I think I would either go into poker because of merely the amount of searches available, or slots because of how direct it is. If you're Googling slots, you're kind of ready to play. You're not really Googling anything else. So I think, yeah, poker or slots.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Jack. The next question I have then is, how do you decide what content to produce? Claire, did you want to pick that one up?
Yeah, absolutely. So it will depend on the client that we're building links for, and it will also depend on the type of sites that we're aiming to place the links on, because we obviously want to make sure that the content is really relevant to the site and for our brand. But once we've decided on that, we'd usually plan well in advance for a dynamic deadline if there's one relevant, and come up with the content around that, and then we can then write it on that day and make it really relevant for that day as well.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Claire. That's actually covered all the questions that we've received today, but if anybody thinks of anything else after the session or anything pops into your mind, then please feel free to get in touch with us and contact us, and we'll answer those questions for you. So with that being said then, a big thank you to everybody who's joined today. Hope you found the session useful, and we look forward to seeing you again on one of our future sessions. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.